Hey Ryan, how you
What's
going?
going on? How are ya? Welcome back to cold, grey Melbourne.
Yeah, cold, grey, weird Melbourne.
Weird lockdown Melbourne, but I'm glad you're back safe though. I've been talking to you throughout your trip, and I'm glad that you made it home safe. I know it was a bit of a trek for you, so yeah, I just want to say I'm really happy to see you and doing well.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be back and I'm glad to be talking to you today because I think I reached out to you because I know that we'll get into a bit about who you are right now. So the reason that I did reach out was because I wanted to talk about leading millennials in crisis. So, did you want to start off with saying who you are and what you do for work, so we can listen to your expertise on the subject?
For sure, for sure. So obviously I'm Ryan Cheng. I've obviously done a podcast with you before. People might want to go and search that up again. But
Plug
I'm the
really
head of content. Yeah, I'm all about that plug now. I've done this long enough. But I'm the head of content at Deacon Research, and I've managed a team of about 6 or 7 young creatives, from writers to videographers to social media officers. Um, and yeah, I've been in the role for maybe a year and a half now, creeping on that way. So yeah, and obviously having to adapt to this ever-changing situation, which is something that we couldn't have predicted, but we've prepared for as a team culturally. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, happy to speak about it, and I'm excited.
Amazing. Now, I think the interesting thing is the reason that I wanted to talk leadership is because it is such a topic today, not only in the way you're kind of leading your teams, because I think there is a distinct difference between managing and leading.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I mentioned briefly that I grew up in Singapore, and so we moved here when I was 10. But during that time when we were living there, the SARS epidemic actually occurred during that time. And for those that don't know, SARS is just another kind of like strain of coronavirus, I guess, and far more deadly, but the transmission was less. Um, like it didn't move between people as fast as COVID-19 is doing right now. Don't quote me, I'm not a scientist, but that's as far as my scientific knowledge goes. And I think, and having gone through that, obviously, um, I've noticed the way that leaders lead in times of crisis, and in Singapore there was no panic buying, not to my knowledge at least. Um, there was things were very strict. Obviously, understanding that the way government operates in Singapore is very different to the way it operates here. But in moments of crisis, you do need a bit of strong leadership to say, "Hey, if you're being quarantined, you have to follow the rules." Yeah, and that's a distinct difference, right? I think managers, if you take it down to a workplace, managers manage workflow. They just make sure things get done.
Yeah.
Leaders are there to empower, and leaders are essentially in service, of their team. They're not higher or better or in charge. Like, it's literally, yeah, you're in service of others. And I think, yeah, sometimes people get that confused.
I really like that distinct difference that you put there. It's like they're managing a workflow versus like leading and empowering a team. And I guess it kind of puts on that like the micromanagement aspect that people like hate kind of feeling micromanagement, whereas like a leader like knows the strengths and weaknesses of individuals in a team. Let's get to some practical stuff now.
Yeah.
In terms of leading your team, sorry,
Hmm.
how how have you best done that? And I guess what are 3 things that managers or people who are looking to lead within their teams at this moment,
Sure, for sure.
how they can best do that?
Yeah. So I think I'll start with practical and move towards more like holistic kind of themes. But the practical thing is first like having the right kind of tech stack to make sure that your remote working can take place. So what I mean by that is, like, before everyone was sent home, we made sure that everyone had Zoom, made sure everyone had Slack, you had access to your emails, um, that you had kind of access to all the online services you needed. So like making sure that the Adobe Creative Cloud was accessible for people when they were at home. And that sounds like super basic, but I think it's important to be able to sit down and go, what are the things people actually need? Because you'll start realizing that it might not be the same for everyone. There might be basic things across the board, but important to highlight in your own mind what others might need, because that sets them up for success the
sure.
longer you're remote.
And on
So
that note, for people who are listening, I do have an interview about how to move your team remote. So there will be more in-depth detail on that if you're listening and thinking about that side of things. So just a
100%.
side note
Good.
for people listening.
Cool. Well, I'll move on, because the second thing I think is important as well is to then not micromanage, but to over index on trust. And especially with millennials, I think there's this whole thing about millennials like to take the piss in the workplace. Like, they're not hardworking, they're not hungry, stuff like that. And the thing you'll find is that they often are, and they often have a lot of drive and a lot of passion for the work they do. And so it's important to really trust that, especially if you're not able to see them in a workplace anymore, you're not going to be able to see them for 7.5 hours, 8 hours a day, that you're not on their back the whole time, that they feel that they're going to be given the space to be able to deliver the things that they promised. And that's super important. I saw something online, and I'm not sure if this is it sucks that you have to say this, but I'm not sure if this is obviously real or fake. But the Wall Street Journal sent out, because they sent their staff home to work remote, and they sent out this massive email about all the different rules they had to adhere to, like have your phone on, like you have to jump on every hour to talk to your manager. Like, this is just me paraphrasing, but there was this list of all these things that their staff had to do, and that doesn't communicate trust in the slightest. And that's why for me it's important to then understand, how do you build that culture of trust? How do you make sure that you manage or lead from a distance, but you're not on their case the whole time? And that's something that's a balance that has to be struck individually based on personality and characteristics. I have one-on-ones that I do remotely, which can run from anywhere. Like, someone might only need 15 minutes, other people might need 2 hours, but it's my job as a leader to be able to be available for any extended amount of time that they're required from me, so that they feel comfortable in doing their job. But yeah, over-indexing on trust is a big one. That is a massive one for me.
Over indexing on trust. I love that. And it's